the same doors here. And we'll start another day. Very good. Oh yeah, Murphy's here now, sound out. No problem at all, mate. Thanks, John. Thanks. There's a snug there on this side, and there's a snug on that side. And these snugs in the olden times were used for ladies to drinking and as well as matchmaking.
And the fathers of the bride-to-be or the groom-to-be would come in and sort out what the dowry was going to be. It could be a little bit of money, and there could be like a hen or a sheep or something as well.
The people who are getting married weren't there at all, just the fathers and the mothers were in there, and they discussed the deeds. And in every pub in Dingle, I'd say, there are old marriage arrangements wrote down in every pub, and they made out a document, and it was signed by both people that there'd be so much money involved in every. Yeah, and you know there was money involved in every match.
And my aunt, who would be in her 90s now, she remembers it actually going on. And she said that you would stay around outside, and if the match went ahead, there'd be a celebration, and you might get a biscuit or an apple, not a glass of champagne.
Well, there was no seating at the counter. There was no stools up until the 50s. Well, maybe in the cities, all right, but not down in the towns. And it wasn't etiquette for a lady to stand at the bar and have a drink. It was looked frowned on. So they were put in seat. That's what the snugs. The lady went in, or the lady and her husband and wife went into the snug, or else into the lounge, but never at the bar until the end of the 50s, and then they were allowed.
Ladies kind of didn't. Of course, it was terrible discrimination when you think about it, but if a man came in with his wife, like she went to the snug and she might have her little sherry and he might be at the bar, you know. That's the way it was in those, you know, I'm going back to the start of the century. But, yeah, there's a lot of famous characters drank in there down through the years. Mick Collins now was, I believe, I would have heard stories when I was very young, was a regular in there.
And people love to come in and have a conversation about some serious matter and just close the little shutters off and have it. And that's what the snugs. And the seats are so narrow, you sat up straight in it as well. There was no crouching.
There was a president of Ireland actually was asked to by Dick Spring. He was a politician, and John Rogers, he was senior counsel. They got together in there with Mary Robinson one evening, and they asked her, would she run for president? So there's a little plaque in there to commemorate that.
And she ended up president.
Yeah, would you like some snuff?
Well, Nicky. Warren. Oh, Percy. I'm not too bad at all. And here, it's always been an important place for horse trading. And I remember when I was young, I was only 15 or 16, there was a lot of pretty successful horses around here at the time, and there was a lot of bets pulled off. Good luck. So I remember walking in there one day, and there was a man there. He was the brother of a very famous trainer, and it was the day before one of the big classics, I think the Derby or the Guineas in England. And unsuspecting, I walked in to the middle of a group of men, expecting to get them another drink, and he had a load of envelopes. And everybody stopped, everybody looked. I kind of looked at Fancy. Fancy looked at me, go away for a few minutes. Right, sorry.
Unusual. We have a pub on one side and we have a grocery on the other side. We have petrol pumps just here to my left, funeral home further down. So we're trying to cater for everything. It's an old traditional pub and that's the way we're on it. We have the grocery on one side. We wouldn't be making a big profit on the side now where the grocery is, but we still are selling as much ham today as we were 20 years ago.
We're a shop, really, you could say. We're a
grocery. I suppose as all rural, country business started off, your shop, general merchant, I think the old term, or general store. You have your bars, one building. We have grocery hardware or food market hardware adjacent to this.
And a jack of all trades and master of none.
And we do undertaking, which would be synonymous with the bar. Yeah. With the bar business.
We're also undertakers and have been for 5 generations as well, so I'm the current undertaker in town. This is the parish priest, Tom Breen.
Tomas of Breen.
Tomas of Breen.
Parosta, parish...
Sagar Parosta. If you are...
Feather Douglas Gloucester. Fior Douglas Gloucester.
And we've got a barter system going. He gets a lot of money in the church, and I have to get a lot of change. So he brings the change into me, I give him cash. We cut out the middleman. Banks don't like it.
I don't get an awful lot of money in the church, but they're very good to me, really.
He does actually get an awful lot of money in the church. his chauffeur's outside waiting for him.
This pub is one of the most unique pubs in England. It's definitely, it is not a history to it. It has never changed in any way inside it, in the premises itself, and outside is the same. And I try to keep everything the same as it was. That's one of my traditions myself. Keep things as they were. There's enough of things changing in the world. The whole world is changing. The whole of Dingle is changing, which is ruining it. And we'll try to keep it the same as it was, myself.
All I've heard from people that come in here is, oh, don't change it, don't change it, don't change it. It's really like embedded in me. And oftentimes like you'd feel, oh God, I need to give it a complete overhaul. And then you start to think, well, this is what makes it what it is. It is an old pub, it is hundreds of years old. Yeah. Why would you change it? You know, there's too many things changing in life.
Yes, if anyone comes into Ballytor...
Look at the stone floor there now, and they're all the new pubs and that modern risings are putting in stone floors, like.
Yeah, that's a flag floor, and it's here as long as this building is built, so it's never changed, albeit it's rockier and it's unlevel and you'd have to watch your step walking on it, but it is here over 230 or 40 years old.
You'd be alright coming in, but you have to watch yourself going out.
That is so true.
I got a point that way.
Yeah, no bother at all.
Back in the 60s, they were tearing some of the most beautiful pubs in the city apart. I was told this story, Liam passed this on to me. And Bill, my grandfather at the time, people were saying to him, Bill, would you not move with the times? You're going to be left behind. You know, they were basically putting carpet on the floor and formica on the counters and taking away with the snug and the partitions and lovely old mirrors, you know. So Bill was really upset about this, you know, what am I going to do here, like, you know, what's, you know. So one day he went for an old walk and he went up to Ryan's at Park 8th Street, another fine, beautiful Victorian pub, and the boss man was there himself, Bongo Ryan as he was known. Bill ordered a drink And he said to Bongo, he says, "Are you modernising?" And Bongo says, "No." But he says, "Well, I'm not either." And the two of them shook hands. And to this day, Rhines of Parkgate Street and the Palace Bar are stand as they were back in those days, you know, and they haven't changed.
I have travelled far, far from your own native home. Far away o'er the mountains, far away o'er the foam. But of all the fine places that I've ever seen, sure there's none to compare with the cliffs of Dooneen.
Glory die.
This is as it was. It's built in 18 and there's a Colombian pine floor and counter, and the woodwork is all Colombian pine. And there's a lot of stuff here that was collected over the years for the future generations to see what life was like, and what because with the advent of all the technology now and everything, they think everything will be stainless steel or plastic, and it's just a character, and just a memory of the people who went before us, just to keep the continuity.
The younger generation will never know what real pubs were like. And this, to which we're lucky enough to have kept, they can't get over it. And we don't have no television, no music, just conversation. And it has started off now with the surfers. They love, because they can come in and trash out what they did wrong and what they didn't do wrong. And they love when there's no music or anything like that to annoy their conversation.
Well, it's kind of an oasis now, unfortunately, because the whole area's changed. I mean, there's all office blocks and tower blocks everywhere, and it's over. I mean, in the 60s, there was a Theatre Royal, which is across the road, and we had the Irish Press next door, and it was always busy, very, very busy during the day. And before that, it was the Docklands, and we used to get all the dockers in, and it was just non-stop drinking in those days. You know, early morning. We went to an early house, but from about so as soon as you open the doors, Dad would tell you, like, from 10:30 onwards, it was busy, constantly busy, you know. So now it's office crowd, it's students, it's workers. It's a good mix of everything, which is the main thing. You know, it's a good mix, and they all come for the pint of Guinness, which we have a reputation for being the best pint of Guinness in Dublin, which obviously means the best pint of Guinness anywhere. So we have a high reputation. It's consistently very, very good. And every now and again I do sample it myself just to make sure. Quality control, you know. So, cheers. It tastes like more, as they say.
What's the secret in a good paint? Put it so far and let it settle, and then put a head on it. Good creamy top. But you're the same. I always kept a good paint.
No, Donna. Thanks very much.
Well, it was great Guinness, all right, but when Niece is here, doesn't go down. Yeah, that was a great pint. Yeah.
That's okay, we're well used to each other. Oh, I like honesty, no, that's okay.
How would you be always having the crack here?
Well, we're here in John B. Keane's bar in Listowel, which was given to me by my dad about 20 years ago, as he had enough of it himself, working behind the bar and trying to write. Himself and my mother bought it in 1955. Dad came home from England and spared up his money and got a loan from the bank, and the two of them, she was a hairdresser, and the two of them set it up, and we've been here since. It's a great little bar. It's not the biggest bar in Ireland, but people think it is because of the name outside the door. And the price of drink went up 10 cents the other day, and the customers were complaining and whinging. So I said I'd give them free drink for the night if one of them could tell me the price of a sliced pan of bread. Not one of them knew the price. They guessed, and they got it all wrong. To be honest, I didn't know the price either, but this fella, Sean Moriarty, started all the trouble. So I said, Sean, there you are. You know the price of a pint of Guinness, but you don't know the price of the staple of life, the very staple of life, bread. And he says, I don't, Billy, you know. He says, but then again, I wouldn't eat 7 or 8 sliced pans every night, would I?
Used to be not that many years ago now, when you look back, when you had to close between, of a Sunday, you had to close between 2 and 4.
That's right, yeah.
That was the hardest one, because everyone would come up and they'd nearly double up on their drink.
That was always the sweetest drink in any pub, was the one after hours.
Yeah.
Or the one you got on a Good Friday.
Yeah. They were the sweetest ones.
We used the kitchen quite a lot before the Sunday opening came in. Yes, we did, I have to admit. We got all the characters coming from the football and the old boys from way down the low country years ago, you know. And they wouldn't pass this place without coming in on a Sunday evening for a drink and a bit of a sing-song and discuss the football. They would have come through the back door into the kitchen. They always knew to come the back door, and some of the old characters, maybe about 4 o'clock in the morning, would have been looking for a drink quick and maybe hit the back door with a stick. Now, the old walking stiff Stephen Doyle used to hit the door with a stick. And they would throw stuff up at the window. When the police would have come, they would have went out through our back door, out through the back window. They would crept through the window and into the garden and away up the fields to get out of the police's road. And their battles with them.
Well, the best one those ever thought about the 2 o'clock on for Sunday and 4 o'clock was his wife. The husband was coming home, he was kept in, and he was coming home around 5 or 6 o'clock. And she said, that's the last time you're going to do this. Pub closes at 2 o'clock, you're coming home at 5 o'clock, your dinner will be in the bin next Sunday if you're not here at 2 o'clock. He comes home the next Sunday, 5:30. Where's my dinner? It's in the bin. We get her by the scruff of the neck, opens the door, gives her one good kick up the arse, lands her in the middle of the street. And who's walking down only the PP? And he says, Father, I'll make sure she goes to Mass every other Sunday. That got anybody happy with it.
Old lock-ins was always them, but no, there used to be a big offence the after hours and that. There was a big raid here one year, and they'd done 3 pubs in the town the same night, and the place was full here, but everyone escaped out the back. At the time, it was a major crime to be caught in a pub. But, I think they caught 5 people that night. We used to have hens out the back, and there was a vicious rooster. But one of the fellas went in and hid in the hen house. But there was no night. The rooster never made a sound. The guards never checked in the hen house. And the boys reckoned the next day that your man had the rooster by the throat. That's why there was no noise out of the shed. Because the rooster would normally kick up a racket. He wasn't caught now, but there was 5 other people caught that night. I think the fine at the time was a £5 or something. But it was a big thing around the town at the time. So nobody passes any remarks to that anymore. Nobody passes any remarks.
I suppose the Irish pub, more so than English pubs or anything, is just a sense of humour. And you know, the Irish, they have a great sense of humour, do you know. And personally, for me anyway, I'm not a television addict or anything, do you know. And I like to come out and meet people and my neighbours and that and have a chat. I don't come for the drink really. I'd have a drink, but it's for the chat I'd come.
It's only for they have nowhere to go, but then they had to get around much anywhere. But I don't think it's important to me because they come down here and have a chat a few nights a week and have a drink. Very important for me because I'm not interested in television. I'd be sitting at home looking at the wall.
Yeah.
And it's a pub is a social outing, so it is, where people come to relax and spend time and settle down. Look at you, man. And it's unique because the pub in Ireland is everybody comes to meet in the pub. Everybody says hello to their friends. Sorry, how are you, Frankie? Great game. How are you? Class game. Magic. Wasn't it?
Fantastic, super.
Class. But ask me that question again.
If you go into a pub abroad and they nearly ignore you, you go into a pub in Ireland and they go up in your arse to find out who you are. Name, address and creamy number before you nearly get a drink. You know, where you're from and who you are. And if you're evasive at all, they keep asking you questions. You might as well just put your credentials up on the counter when you go in. Save a lot of trouble. That's what I know was with them here anyway. And there was a man here one day and he was fairly inquisitive and he was sitting over the far side there and this stranger came in, I don't know who it was, but the man called me over anyway and I went over and said, what's up? He said, who's that? I just turned around and says to the man, I said, will you tell this fella who you are? I says, he wants to know. The man said, no I don't. I said, what the hell else did you call me out for? You see the face going red on your mind, he never asked me again. No.
I'd say myself that we say Carmel now, we say, and her husband, Lord Mercy on him, Jim. You know, they regarded the customers as an extended family.
Yeah.
You know.
And the staff were.
Oh yeah, and the staff.
Extended
You know,
family.
I mean,
They were.
You know, the staff now, they do anything for the staff will do anything for them.
Yeah,
you
they
know.
were kind of like family.
Oh, yeah, like a family.
Your customer is your friend. Your customer he's your family, basically. And you get to know every one of them and, you know, they know you so well and it's whatever P says or P doesn't say or he's quoted in a lot of things when he was as well if he kept his mouth closed.
There's people coming to me for a drink and I get talking to them and they'll stay for the night to be talking. Maybe that's the bit of charm I have. I can talk to people and relax people. Yeah, and that's all they want. And maybe sing a song.
Come by the hills to the land where fancy is free, and stand where the peaks reach the skies and the lochs meet the sea, where the rivers run clear and the bracken is gold in the sun, and those cares of tomorrow must wait till this day is done. Come by the hills to the land where life is a song, and stand where the birds fill the air with their joys all day long, where the trees sway in time and even the wind sings in tune, And those cares of tomorrow must wait till this day is done. Come by the hills to the land where legends remain, where stories of old have been told and may yet come again, where the past has been lost and the future's about to be won. And those cares of tomorrow must wait till this day is done.
Well, I suppose the history of this pub dates back to 1840. Originally, the building was built as a grain store. I'd be the fourth generation, and hopefully the kids will be the fifth if we can stick it out. My great-grandfather turned it into a pub, shop, grocery, feed store, machinery, you know, everything went on here at the time, whatever. But I suppose it throve through bad times, good times, whatever, and I came back from Dublin in '92 and started chipping the plaster away from the building as things were quiet or whatever. So I've restored it by hand over a period of X amount of years. I'm probably not finished yet, if the truth is told, but it's been good to me in ways. We've had good years, we've had bad years, tough years, whatever. The pub trade is tough at the moment, but look, it's a vocation.
I married in here in 1963 and my husband owned it. So I now am running it now since he died in 75. Passed away in 75. So now I'm continuing, carrying on. And the next generation I hope to do the same. I'd like to see it continue. The help of God, says you. But no one knows. We can't tell the future, sure we can't. The future's not ours to take. Yes, sirrah, sirrah. Whatever's to be, you'll be. I think that's a very nice song.
What I find is very important, I like going into family-run businesses. I find that there's a connection of respect and of a hard work ethic, and you need a hard work ethic to survive within the pub trade or whatever. And Rory, will you get out of the way, please? Good boy. It just brings a little togetherness within, and I feel people feed off that if they, you know, they feel more secure within themselves, or if they're in that sort of workplace. Boys and girls now, just move out of the way, move out of the way. I came back here in the early 90s, and I have to say the trade here was very, very, very poor. For various reasons. It was just a combination of parents being old and not interested in the pub. So it picked up for me, and I've gone full circle, where it's gone probably back quiet again-ish, due to the economy and due to me losing maybe a lack of just a little bit of sparkle or a little bit of bite. And I'm getting re-energized again, and hopefully if I can get my energy back into it, that hopefully it'll pick up again.
The pub's name is O'Shaughnessy's Pub, and it's affectionately known as the Captain's. And the captain, he was my father, and he inherited the pub in 1952 after his brother died. And he was an eccentric man, my father, really, because he closed his pub at 6 o'clock in the evening. He never opened after 6 o'clock. And they all knew that, and they all left quietly at 6 o'clock. So I'm keeping the tradition going, and I feel I'm only caretaking it for him. So I'll caretake it anyway. And I said to him when he died, I said, Dad, I said, the name's over the door now, says I, and it'll be there when I'm going. A lot of the stuff here has been left in by locals and by people who were interested in the pub and had no more use for them. That's actually the confessional from the church. That's the original piece there, the confessional from the church. Of all the pieces and trinkets that were given into the pub, this actually wasn't given. However, there's an amazing story behind this piece. This is from the penal laws in Ireland, and it's an altar when there was religious persecution in Ireland, and it was forbidden that they say mass in churches, and the priest went to the houses, and they said, and to private places in woods or whatever, to say mass for the locals, and this was what they call a travelling altar, and everything is original in it. It hinges down like that, and the crucifix is here, and the pattern for when you received the Holy Communion, there was a little altar cloth, an amazing little altar cloth, all original. These were all inside in it, back from the 1800s, and it's all embroidered. It's beautiful, and there's the original spoon for the holy oils.
These, I don't know, they must have been there for years. Probably my grandparents got them and they were up there. The one that's most popular is this one here with the Mitchell's whiskey, because it has two lovely views, one of Howth and the other one of Ireland's Eye. There's one mistake there, we think it is anyway. Ireland's Eye, as people know what Ireland's Eye, but it's Ireland's, L-A-D-S, that's written on it. So I'd say there's something about that.
And Howth
Head, I think it's Roach's store in Dublin. One of them had called one time.
And he said his home was on
his home, he said, was on that. So he would love to buy the mirror, but the mirror's there that long, it's not for sale.
And as a matter of fact, the people that made Ryan's Daughter, Faraway Productions, they were the crowd that done it. They tried to buy the floor of the pub of my father. And they wanted the village to put in the pub in Ryan's pub in the famous Kerry village, which is Ryan's Daughter. And my father says, the floor is there before him and it'll be there after him. It won't be moved.
I suppose there's a lot of stuff. We have a Feroz jersey up there that a man up the road was knocked unconscious in 1963, I think it was. He was 9 days unconscious and they literally couldn't get the jersey off him for 9 days because of his head swelling, whatever, and the blood stain is still on the jersey. We have different bits and pieces. We have a Camogie All-Ireland winning team. We have a dog here wearing glasses and smoking a pipe. We have an All-Ireland minor winning jersey. We have an old can of Fanta. We have a box of Calvita cheese. I have my own grandmother's day books where she used to bookkeep.
They're all right left to dust them. That's when they just become a pain. And then people bring in various bits. There's a mole trap there. That came from, I think it was America that came from. All the way. And there's tongs over there in the corner. They came from Canada. Ice tongs. Just people do bring in bits and pieces, just add to the stuff. Then when you go to paint the place or do it up at all, you take everything down and then you don't know where half it goes back. So there's boxes of stuff lying about the place as well. You'll be wondering how it all fitted up in the first place.
we always had stuff hanging out the ceiling there as well. And when people came in, strangers especially, tourists, they'd always have their head up in the air looking at the stuff on the ceiling and trying to identify it. Sometimes it might be an odd Wellington hanging there and they'd be looking for the other Wellington. They always had a bit of a laugh about that stuff up there.
Another bit of history. The bar on the front door. I'll show you this. I'll bring up this close. The bar on the front door, there's a bin in it. It was burst, the bar was bursting in the year of the Black and Tans. They drove the vehicle through the door and they bent the bar on the door. And the bar on the door is still there. We leave it there.
Yeah, the picture in the background here is a picture of Sive. It was John B's first play. It was written in 1958, and it was a story about a young girl who was being married off to a far older man, very much against her wishes. And she ran away in the middle of the night, and she was drowned. And there's a, you know, they're lamenting her. There's a song called the Sive Song. For they murdered lovely Sive, for she would not be a bride, and they laid her dead to bury in the clay. Unfortunately, I can't sing because God takes something away from everyone. Otherwise, I would be perfect.
Jimmy. Jimmy's one of the top characters in the town. Closet opera singer, a wit, quiet man. Spent a lot of time at sea and retired. Comes from an old Athlone family. That pose suits him to a T. Drinks a glass of lager. That was in the good old days when he could smoke. We sort of have an arrangement that he imbibes at little or no cost, which is I don't mind, or my wife, we never mind about it. It was practically maybe it was our sort of, we started maybe, but I just informed him recently, you know, after 19 to 20 years in the place, that if he's making a will to remember me, and he was wondering why, I just said a small matter of about 12 to 13,000 euros or whatever, you know, after doing my quick maths, like, but I don't think he got the point anyway, so there's very little hope of me getting it ever. It was not that I wanted or anything like that.
Sul mara Lucia la troi barbendo here la blood bear vento sul mara Lucia la troi barbendo here londa blood bear vento venite la gile al barricade mia.
Well, there was great characters coming in here. There were, as I say, there was gasmen coming in here. There's one man, the Hastings here, and he was in England all his life. He had a big family and worked hard, built for Smarris, and he lived to be 88. Hastings there, sitting over there. And he said, he's wearing a leather hat that he got from one of the lads brought back from Australia. And he said, for no when I die, hang that hat over where I sit. And every pint of drink, I'll drink it with him. Whoever's drinking it, he said. So I have the hat hanging up there today in his memory. So.
It wouldn't happen. And if somebody was sitting on his seat, I'd move them if they came in. Politely, of course, but But I think anybody local would automatically get up automatically when Dano would come in, and they would know that it is his seat. Even people that wouldn't drink here regularly but might come in now and again would know that that's Dano's seat. I wouldn't, if someone came in and sat down, you know, I just, once or twice I'd say, if they weren't from here, I'd just say, would you mind? That's Dano's chair. Dano's famous in Ballytown. I'm sorry, Dano. Yeah, no, I think.
I remember there was a guy that used to come in here, and he used to love to bring a pint away in a bottle. So my father would get the whiskey bottle and he'd fill it with Guinness for him. And he'd say to him, you'll bring back that bottle now, tomorrow. But the bottles weren't coming back, you see. But this day anyway, as he came in and my father put down his foot, he said, you're getting no Guinness because you're not bringing back the bottles to me. Oh, he says, I had the bottle outside. And he went out and in the yard gate and to the crates behind, and he took a bottle out of that. Now, here's your bottle, he said. He was getting his own bottle all the time, so he was. But, you know, there was some great characters, you know, but sadly they have all passed away.
The strangers now normally get the brunt of me bad manners. Was there was an American lady came in and she went down to the ladies' toilet and she came back up and complained about there was no lock on the toilet door. And she went to argue with me, and I said, well, my grandfather started business in 1911. He says he passed away in the 40s. My father took over, he's retired now, passed on, and I'm here since, I says, and no one ever stole a shit out of it yet. So that was the last complaint I heard from that lady. In fact, it was the last word I heard from that lady. I've never seen her since. I don't know whether she took offence or not, but she went on about her business. Not that I've probably been seen in that much. I don't think she'd have been commuting from New York.
It was a story about a man that bought a bag of coal in our yard where we sell the coal and a bag of flour the same day. And it's a very funny story. He was going home with his horse and car and his family in the car, and it poured rain. And by the time he got home, the flour and the coal mixed. And the people were so poor, they could not afford to throw that flour out. It was ruined, the flour. It was black, the flour. So they thought of a plan. They made a cake with the black flour. And instead of eating it themselves, they tried it out on the old grandfather. And they gave him enough cake. And when it didn't kill him, they ate it themselves.
There is nowhere quite so lonely as a silent, darkened stage, when the footlights have all dimmed and died and the props are put away. But our town felt just as lonely as May turned into June, when God finally rang the curtain down and called our playwright home. But you cannot kill a rainbow, nor turn back the rising sun, nor undo the works of gifted men, even though their day is done. For they always owe.
My dad got all his material for such plays and movies as The Field here on the bar. Around the time he died, 10 years ago this year, an old boy just was wandering around the day he died outside the front door, and this journalist stopped him and said, "Do you mind me asking what it is that made John B so special?" So the old boy thought for a second and he said, well, he says, "John B was the smartest man of them all. He took down what we said and then he charged us to read it." So he got all his material here in the pub, his storytelling. A lot of the characters from his plays just walked in the door off the street and found themselves on the stage a few years later, maybe a little bit disguised and a bit changed by his fertile imagination, but nevertheless it all came from sitting up at the counter or behind the bar as I am now talking away.
Well, Brendan being, like, while his father and mother drank here, they were lovely people. But Brendan in drink was a right bowsy. He'd clear a pub, you know, but I remember I'd be coming in from school, my father throwing him out many times, and he'd be roaring at my father, "You Tipperary bollocks," you know.
Yeah, there's a couple of different stories. We're supposed to be in Ulysses and Dubliners and a couple of other short stories that were based in here, mainly in the small room behind us. There's a lot of history, like the thing about crossing at Dublin without passing the pub, which is, you know, a lot of people have tried, I'd say, but not succeeded, you know. But yeah, we have a good, strong association with James Joyce.
All night, you know.
Actually, my heat wasn't too warm last night. My heat wasn't warm last night.
No,
I kept me phone.
I need to get my photograph taken. Look.
Somebody's taking your photograph?
Here, look, the cameras are here. I was ignored completely this time. I'm there at times only.
We have the history of, are you going for a jar? Now that expression is used nearly throughout the world, certainly in Ireland. And that originated from here, because in the First World War, we were right beside the cemetery and the graveyard. A lot of the employees, salt of the earth people, frequented here. And in the First World War, the shortage of glass, but jam was sold in jam jars. So the men from next door, the good grave diggers, they were the ones that got their pints in a jar. So it became the expression from those gentlemen, we're going for a jar. I'd be the 6th generation, we're here since 1833 as a licensed premises. Well, we're always branded that have we ghosts and things like that. And one time here, there was the group with their equipment for the senses, and they had 2 mediums. And one of them said, and the other fella said the same, the man standing beside me behind the counter. So I went to one, I said, will you go down there and sketch what you saw? And I said, will you go down there and sketch what you saw? And they gave me them, identical. And I went upstairs and brought down, and who was it? My stepdad, my dad, identical. And he was, I had asked my brother, now this is a true story, believe it or not, folklore, call it what you like, but it's a fact. And he was the man that I bought the place from. He was the man that took me out of the orphanage. He was the man that took on my mother and 5 children. He was God's gift to this house. And he was my I hardly remember my own dad because I was only 8 years and 10 months when he died. But that man was ideal. Ideal.
Well, my dad, he trained as a doctor in UCC and he qualified just before the war and he couldn't get a job in Ireland. So my dad went over to England to see if he could get a job, but war was just coming. So he joined up the Air Force. He had quite a career there. He was in Dunkirk with the battle on the beaches and everything. And after that, he got sent off to the Far East. And when he was in the Far East in Sumatra, Japanese invaded and he was captured and became a prisoner of war. So he was 3.5 years in captivity and he ended up in the Japanese mainland in Nagasaki, and he was actually in Nagasaki when the atomic bomb was dropped. But luckily he survived and came back and lived to tell the tale, and we actually have a samurai sword that he brought back with him. An officer gave it to him, the respect they'd built up between each other. So it's amazing to have. My dad was 14 stone when he went away and 7 when he came home. But my aunt said she remembers him coming up the gangplank in Dunleary, his kit bag over his arm and this in the other hand.
People play music here every Thursday for the last 46 years. It's basically they walk in at 9 o'clock on a Thursday night, it is a stream of musicians in through the door and into here, and they play music for 4 hours and then they're gone again. It's a really unique thing that we have in here. The room is tiny, but we regularly have 21 musicians playing all sorts of instruments in here every single Thursday. So it's the longest running music session in Ireland. It's 46 years. And it's only ever stopped twice for 2 funerals of 2 people that played here. So that's pretty unique. So what we do then is when we have somebody that's died, their picture goes on the wall of where they've sat when they've played the music all those years. And their memory goes on then on the wall. So we like to do that to remember everybody.
As far as we know, we have the written history of the Smiths being here since 1815. That was the year of the Battle of Waterloo that started off in Newtown. It would seat 350 easily, you know, but it would be fairly tight in. But anyone came in after 9:30, they'd have to stand. We had 6 girls behind the counter one time. I didn't work behind the counter at all. Very seldom. We had a small lounge here first, and I used to play the piano. And then when someone had rap and want to drink, I'd have to get up and go and get them the drink. And I'd come back to play again, and someone would rap again, and I'd have to go up again. And a very, very wise and a very old man came over to me one night. And he said, you'll have to change your position here and your attitude. You'll have to get somebody to serve the drink and you stay playing the piano. You know that? Home Sweet Home, the name of it. I don't know what else I could play now.
We've had some great times here over the years, and some great characters came through, and great musicians. And, you know, and Noel Redding living in town was, or just outside of town, was a great boost to us.
I mean, that was huge, really. Like everyone, a lot of people would say, like Clonakilty was always a dreary place, but they reckon when Noel came, that he brought the '60s with him, like, you know, and kind of kicked it off and just brought that colour to the area. And I know, as you can see it, as you drive through, like, it's so vibrant and colourful. And you know, and it really was certainly the catalyst, one of the catalysts for it. And you know, and it's like anything. Like we were saying before, tradition is important now more than ever, and the musical tradition here is very important. It's important to the town. There's a huge musical legacy here. All the young people now that are coming up, and some of the music and the musicianship and the bands is just it's phenomenal. And you know, like West Cork is it's become the Nashville of Ireland almost to an extent. Like, you know, I mean, Christy Moore, like, it was in the most famous quote is that he said there's the Sydney Opera House, there's Carnegie Hall, there's the Royal Albert Hall, and then there's the Barras. So that's as good a testimonial as I think as you'll get off anyone.
This fine looking man here is Sean Aherne. He was the main singer in the National Folk Theatre of Ireland. He just wandered in for a drink, so we managed to persuade him to sing a song. What did you sing for, Sean?
I sing She Moved Through the Fair.
She Moved Through the Fair, written by Thomas Moore.
Yeah.
It was my van, man, when we were claiming him anyway, just up the road. Off you go.
My young love said to me, my mother won't mind, and my father won't slight you for your lack of kind. Then she stepped away from me, and this she did say, it will not be long, love, till our wedding day. She stepped away from me and she went through the fair, and fondly I watched her move here and move there. And then she went homeward with one star awake, as the swan in the evening moves over the lake.
Our
grandparents opened the pub on St. Patrick's Day 1900, and we're the third generation. There was my grandparents, my mother, my father came in here, and then there was 4 of us and 3 girls and a boy, and there's 2 of us always stayed, and we've ran the pub from we were at school. We all had our jobs when we came home from school, and then when Mommy died in 62 and Daddy died in 82, and we took over, the 2 of us took over completely in 82 and ran it day in, day out, 7 days a week.
We might have a, what would you say, an old, word, a battle or something like that, but no fights.
We don't do a battle.
Not a battle, but a difference of opinion.
Yeah, we're together, I suppose. Are we 25 years together?
At least, yeah.
Yeah, I suppose so, we are, yeah. Well, I haven't killed him yet anyway, so...
Obviously, it's very advantageous for the business as regards costs and that, but it can be a little bit hard at times.
Yeah, it's hard, and we try not to talk about it up at the house, but particularly in front of the kids, because we're kind of all day at it, and like we do work, like Pat works, to be honest, it's hard. Pat works realistically 7 days a week. We try and have a Sunday off kind of ever so often that we can do something with the family, because it is difficult. Sometimes I feel like I could be a single mother.
I think they say there's 3 generations in every family business, apparently. So so come here while you can, I suppose, to anyone who's watching it. Might not be here for much longer. But no, I suppose I've been working here all my life since I was a young fella. I mean, on and off, and then I went to school and went to college and lived abroad for a few years. And I came back and I just kind of fell back into it. So, and I had to go away to realise how much I missed it and how much I actually enjoyed it, I suppose. Because I never really like anything. Sure, the last thing you want to be doing is working with your family when you're a young fella or anything like that. But I suppose with over the years and with a bit more maturity, I suppose I've kind of learned to accept it and enjoy it much more and get on better with the boss, I suppose. And that's the problem, because at the end of the day, if he's the boss, and if your boss is being an asshole, you can, geez, he's an asshole. But when your boss is your father, it's very conflicting thought process. Because of course I love my father, and he's not an asshole.
I'm glad you said that.
And when he said that, well, no.
That's my dad there, yeah. He was here all his life. He probably I don't think he was ever out of the country in his life. He was never out of the country, never went on a holiday out of the country in his life. I have been out of the country 5 times. I've been in Dublin 8 times. My dad is really the same as myself. We never changed. They asked me to see my brother.
My father, he died there about 5 years ago. He died, but he knew, my father knew nothing else. He was taken out of school at about 13 years of age to work behind the counter. My grandfather wasn't well. So that's all he knew was the bar work from his school days. And he hardly ever missed a day behind the counter. Holidays now wouldn't be a thing with him. We might go away for a couple of days in the latter years when we grew up a bit. But no, he wouldn't be one now for going abroad on holidays. He ventured over to England twice, I think, in his life. That was about it, as far as he went. It's not like people nowadays who don't get a couple of foreign holidays, they're not happy.
We had a painting done of the old bar with my father standing behind the bar. And Lord to mercy him, he's gone since, he's gone 5 or 6 years now, 7 years I think. And I tell you, you didn't hang around when he was around, like, you know, you got on with what you had to do. But, you know, he believed in being straight, honest with people, and that's very important. And if he could be of help to them, he definitely would be of help to them. And that, he tried to pass that on to me, and I hope I took some of it from him. You know, that you'd be friendly when people come in, and you'd look after them, and that they'd go away with a good feeling about the place.
Well, John, my husband, liked to drop a drink. I'm very, very truthful about it, I'm not ashamed to tell you. Well, which many thousands more did. But he was a good fella in every way, and very kind, and very popular, and very well known with everybody. And but I don't think it was that really killed him. I think it more or less was a heart attack that killed him. He got a massive heart attack and died. Lord rest him, yes. But he liked to drop a drink, and his family before him liked to drop. Where do you go there? No, yes, John would have liked to drop a drink, so he would have too. But I wouldn't like to see any of the rest of them taking it. Too much. I'm not on for too much drink now, because it can end up problems. Do you know what I mean? Younger people can go into off licence and buy a bottle at, you know, at a reasonable price, and maybe a bottle of Coke or something to go with it, and you can't blame them. But then again, I think maybe they get too much drink that way, because if they're getting it behind the bar, they're getting it measured. Whereas the other way, they're drinking it in bottles and glasses. It's very, very, very sad to see these traditional Irish pubs closing down. It's the saddest thing in the world. And a lot of them are closed. And a lot of them will be closing if it continues the way it's going. Because I just think it would be terrible, because it takes away all the character. The Irish pubs have a bit of character to them. Do you know what I mean? At least they make everybody happy and welcome, and plus they look after people too.
A pub, seriously, for Monday morning especially in a pub, anywhere in Dublin, even here, you come in, it's like a confession box.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to go, oh, I had to get out of the house. She was doing me head in. All these stories you hear, don't you, Liam?
Yeah.
You could have a person 82 years in there, you could have a person 52 years in there, and you could have a person at 22 years in there. And like, they can all meet. They get used to talking to each other and interacting with each other. And they appreciate each other and they respect each other. And respect is what it's all about in a public place.
The Irish pub is a place where you can talk without any interruption except by everyone. I know that's a contradiction, but if you're at home, you're interrupted by one person, your wife, or your husband, or your son, or your daughter, or your partner, or whatever. Being interrupted by one person, you have to shut up. But when you're interrupted by 50 people and everyone talks together, everyone gets to say their piece. So it's like a safety valve for the population of Ireland. We probably have less psychologists and psychiatrists than any other country in the world, but there's probably no country in the world who needs them more. Yet we divulge all our troubles and our worries and our bothers here in the pub, have a couple of beers, relax, and talk them through. That's what people do, and I think that's why we're generally a happy nation in spite of all our little economic downturns and the occasional recession.
Pubs, people come in and they've an awful lot of regrets and stuff. I don't think you should regret anything. And you know, everybody comes in and if I was your age, I would do this and I should have done that. And you know, here we live for now, and we don't worry about what's coming in the future, and we don't worry if we're going to be in a recession for the next 10 years. We just play a bit of music, have a few pints, and move on. You know, so if my one piece of advice would be to just live it and not worry about what's not happened yet.
Enjoy life, I suppose. You know, don't let your life be spoiled by the big picture of things that you can't have. Enjoy what you have, and you can't do any more. If you can make more out of it, fair enough, but enjoy it while you have it.
Live it as best you can, and as long as you can. When you go out in the morning, if you can do somebody a good turn, do it, but don't do them a bad one. You'll get through it eventually. You get through it eventually.
I myself, the advice I would give to anybody is peculiar. I was very active in sport all my life. Still am, training a football team here. I had heart problems and whatever, and thank God I got over them. And I'd say the most thing that most of us want to do for nearly all our life is smile and respect each other and always be happy, no matter what your situation is.
Oh, advice. One of the things about life that I always think is there's one seriously important thing about life, and that's to have a contented mind and be well. Have good health. I'm 84. What do you think about 84?
Advice to give them. Oh, you wouldn't have to give anyone advice nowadays. Oh, I don't know.
In life, don't rush it. Don't rush it. Take your time. It was a famous advice an old man from the Blackwell told me. Tog boga hamish. Tog, which means take it easy. And that was his life, and I said that's the life to have. Don't rush life.
So there was one people that had a great idea. They got the poster to all the pubs on it, and they were coming home for 3 weeks. And their holiday was they were going to be drinking every one of the pubs. I think there's about 40 pubs on it, around the whole country. Just hired a bus, turned left at Dublin Airport, and round the whole country. It's a holiday I'd love to go on myself.